Hey friends, what's up? How are you? I hope everything is well in your part of the world. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I am so excited to talk about it. I can't believe that this will be the third book this year that I've gotten to talk about from this author. I did my very first video for my channel on this author. She is one of my all-time favorites. She is a one-click author for me, bar none, hands down, always. So the book we're going to talk about today is called The Italian by TL Swan. Oh my gosh, I love how she can just make new love stories every single time, and love stories that, like I said, are new and different and I adore. And now she's got so many characters that have come from her amazing mind, and I just adore so many of them. I want to remind you that I'm so happy you're here, but just remember that I do talk in detail about the book and the characters. So I try not to give direct spoilers. I'll never tell you the exact ending. I just love to talk about books. So I'm going to talk about the plot, the characters in detail. I'm sorry if you get a spoiler. It's not my intent. This is not a spoiler channel. It's just a book chat where you and I can talk about the amazing books by such amazing authors that I've read. I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite books? What are some of your favorite authors? This channel is a passion project for me. There are so many amazing authors out there. I would also like to take this opportunity to ask you to subscribe if you like what I'm doing on the channel. I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button. I know that that's something that YouTubers always say, and so that's why I kind of didn't say it for a long time on my channel, because I felt like if you're on YouTube, you know that. But I want to remind you that it does help us building our channels. I would love this to be a conversation between you and I, and build this book community. It's my passion project. If you're watching my videos, you love reading too. And hit the subscribe button. Let's get into the book. This book, wow. First of all, you saw the cover in my intro. Holy smokes. Yes, the Italian. The model that she put on the cover was perfect for me. He embodied Enrico Ferrara perfectly for me. So the book is about Olivia Reynolds and Enrico Ferrara. In the beginning of the book, the first thing that you open to is something that T put in there, and it talks about gratitude. And I really loved that. And also in one of her previous, or maybe more than one of her previous books, the first thing that we come to when we flip after the table of contents, or right in there, and she talked about the alphabet and how she's been able to live her dream because of the alphabet. And I love when authors put dedications like that in their book. It helps them to get to know them as people who they dedicate to their books to. That's a really important part of what I imagine to be their journey, and I appreciate the craft so much that I read those each and every time. And this one, what she talked about gratitude, really stuck out to me. Okay, so now let's get into the book again. Olivia is a young woman. She's traveling by herself in Italy. She is at a restaurant. She does not speak the language for the most part, and I've never been to Europe, but it's my understanding that a lot of people speak English, so she's been able, to get along just fine. And she's Australian. She is blonde hair, blue-eyed, pale skin. Not hard for me to imagine myself as Olivia Reynolds, although I have a Midwestern accent, not an Australian accent, obviously. However, it was easy for me to picture myself as Olivia in this story. She meets Enrico at a restaurant that she went to have dinner, and it was really funny because she kind of locked eyes with him, and then she was kind of like, is he looking at me? And I always love that about TL Swan's characters. Her female characters, they are always badass women, kick-ass women, good heads on their shoulders, smart, lovable, likable. You want to be them, you want to be friends with them, you want to be around them. But also they're humble, and this is a fantasy, a fairy tale, a book, so they're usually beautiful, svelte, you know, pretty women, right? So for them to also be humble, and for her to be able to write that, and when Olivia did that, she was kind of like, is he looking at me? Like, I connected to that immediately. Also, something that stood out in this book to me, which I realized happens in every TL Swan book, and this is why I love her writing so much, is that when the characters, and see, I'm getting choked up about it, because I love love stories, and I know she does too, and I love her love stories. When the characters see each other or interact, those first moments where the characters are meeting gets me every single time. I get the butterflies in my stomach. My heart gets all fluttery. It's like I'm literally in the book doing what they're doing. Like I'm in the book. And I've talked about before how her books play like movies in my head. The way she writes and how my brain comprehends it, it's like seamless and beautiful. And so to have that feeling and every single time was really astounding to me. And it hit me really hard in this book. When Olivia and Enrico met, I felt it too. They have instant chemistry, something that TL Swan's characters never lack. She writes it really good. And so they have instant chemistry. They spend the night, he takes her out drinking and dancing and eating, and he's showing her the town, so to speak. And she is like very hot for him. She kind of pegs him as a playboy, you know, right away with his looks and his manner and his charm. It was hard not to. And it was something funny that I thought was so spot on, and the way Olivia says this, because she wants to spend the night with him, but yet she's like, but I'm just not like that. But yet he's really hot, and when am I ever going to have this chance again? But yet it's just not me. And it's something that, you know, kind of carried over into the rest of the book, where she was like, but I just can't do that because that's just not me. So something that she said, I want to read to you. The energy between us suddenly becomes playful and light. He's a player, I'm a good girl. The boundaries are set, no false pretenses. And then she goes on to say, my good girl image just became his ultimate challenge. They basically never stood a chance not to act on their chemistry. And she kind of felt like, okay, it'll be just like this whirlwind romance, right? While she's in Italy, when in Rome, right? Takes her out sightseeing the next day, and they're having so much fun. And they go to this beach towards the end of the day. And of course, the energy is zapping between them. And I thought it was really interesting. And I really liked reading how, and when you read the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about, is that Olivia tops Enrico, if you know what I mean. And I was like, fist pump, like, you go girl. Like, she took matters literally into her own hands. And I think, in my opinion, that that's something that further cemented Enrico's, him falling for her, because he's used to being, like, he's very charismatic and he's very passionate. And, he's used to kind of getting whoever he wants. And, she was kind of, the chase was on, so to speak. And so the fact that then she came around and kind of the power balance kind of shifted in that part of their relationship. And I don't want to say necessarily shifted, because they hadn't had anything going on before, as far as, I'm dancing around sex, basically, is what I'm saying. So I love that part. I touched on a little bit that Enrico really likes the fact that Olivia is so different. And not only physically in how she looks, she doesn't look Italian. she looks like a wide variety of other nationalities, but she doesn't look Italian. He's used to the kind of Mediterranean, you know, dark hair, dark skin, dark eyes, Italian women that he's around and spends time with. So she's very striking to him. Not that he's obviously never seen a blonde hair, blue-eyed woman before, but he's attracted to kind of how she stands out to him with her, you know, lighter skin, her fair hair, her blue eyes, her Aussie accent, that she's totally different than what's around him. And it does come to play later on in the book a lot, the fact that she's different than what he's used to having and what he thinks he wants, although he wants her. And I thought that was really interesting. A major life event happens to Enrico when she leaves for that week. And it was a surprise to me. I thought that, and I don't want to say predictable because I don't think TL Swan's books are ever predictable, but this was a surprise to me, this change and this shift. And his life changes, literally takes a 180 turn and is completely different in the blink of an eye. And he has new responsibilities, a new path, and it was a sad situation. It's experiencing some grief and some major change, and can't see anything else. And so that's it. And that really surprised me because I never thought that was coming. And then the book picks up 2 years later, and they have not been in any contact with each other, but yet they can't forget one another. And she's trying to go on dates back in Australia, nothing's happening. And he's, you know, going on dates with women in Italy because he has certain expectations of his life now. And he's, you know, a 30-something virile man. So he's going out and he's got his pick and choose, but he just can't ever forget about her. So he brings her back to Italy under because he can. And she ends up coming back to Italy for a job opportunity. And, you know, she's kind of like, she never got over him, but she's not letting that stand in the way going back to Italy for her dream job. And so she goes back to Italy, and it then becomes him trying to find a way to get back to her and to have her in his life. At that point, like I said, 2 years later, Olivia is everything that he can't have, even though he has brought her back and wants to be with her. But she's not Italian. She doesn't speak the language. She doesn't have any Italian heritage. She's not from Italy. She's, you know, knows nothing about the culture. So she's, you know, what he's not supposed to take as a wife or a partner. He is supposed to, you know, his heritage is important to him, and he has responsibilities in his life, and that is with an Italian woman. I have to say that I understood that. You know, I know people that are like, I have to marry within my religion, or I have to marry within my culture. You know, I get that. That's, you know, who am I to judge, right? But it frustrated me, and it was kind of the way it had been for me trying to connect to Enrico. That was something that worked against him for me, that the way he brought her back and wanted to involve her in his life, it frustrated me with him, and I was kind of mad at him. Something I can always count on in TL Swan's books, and this is where I think I connect with her girl to girl, is that her characters always go for margaritas, or they drink margaritas in the bar, or their favorite drink is a margarita. And in this book, of course, Olivia goes out with her friends and they go for margaritas. And I always love that. Oh, because I love margaritas too. Did I say that? They're my favorite. I love them. There's a part having to do with Enrico's friend, Sophia, that made me laugh. And it was totally a personal connection for me. So Enrico talks about, and it's a very sad part in this, so I feel kind of even bad like making light of it because it's a very sad part of the book, but he talks about hearing her bracelets, and it's a noise. Hearing her bracelets is a noise that he connects with as far as her, and he associates that noise with her. So I wear these two bracelets, and can you hear them? Okay, I don't know if you can hear that, but every time I move, I hear that. So these bracelets, I wear them all the time. You can hear me coming or going in my house. It's kind of a joke that my family knows I'm coming because they can hear my bracelets. I'm a bracelet person. I love bracelets. I wear bracelets all the time. But these two in particular, I never take off because one was my mom's and one was my grandmother's. And they have both passed away. And so this is how I keep them with me all the time. And so knowing that, and then hearing Enrico talk about hearing her bracelets and that part, and that was, I had to wonder if part of that was something that my husband thinks about. When the book ended, I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, that's it? And then we get an epilogue, which I always appreciate 100%. It's important to me because I love living in those worlds that TL Swan creates while I'm reading the book. So I like to get as much as I can. So when the book ends, I'm usually like, oh, bummer. But with this one in particular, I was like, oh, it's over. And it was over too fast for me, even though it's a really long book. But and I slept on it, and I thought about it the next day because I still had this like feeling like, are they finished? And what I came to the conclusion of, there's always a journey you take when you read a book. And in particular, I feel like we get a really good journey with TL Swan's books. And in particular with Enrico and Olivia's story, they go through so much, and I think that has to do with they're not from the same world. They don't have anything similar. So for them to become one couple and to make it through those times where she's trying to assimilate into his life in Italy and he's trying to figure out how he can help her fit in, where she fits in, with family, with just being in the country, with work, does she uproot herself? All of that, right? They go on such a journey, and a journey as people too, because like I talked about before, they're both really passionate and kind of bratty sometimes. And he's used to getting whatever he wants. And she's like, I'm not going to kowtow to your needs. I am a person. You need to treat me with respect. And it's not that he was disrespectful to her. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that they're both such strong individuals. And they have these things working against them as far as, the other stuff that I just mentioned. It's such a journey, and there's so many layers, and there's grief, and there's love, and there's acceptance, and there's hope, and there's devastation, and there's losing family members, and there's uprooting your life from a whole other country. Layer upon layer upon layer. And that was so full to me. That journey of all of that in their book was so full to me that when I really thought about it, I was like, oh, you know what? It ended exactly where it was supposed to end. And I think, like I also said, that I will always want more. I will always want more of all of her characters. I want to go live in Stanton Land. I want to go live in Milan, Italy with Enrico and be friends with Olivia. Like, that's always how it is with her worlds. So this journey in particular, really, I felt like I went through all the highs and lows, and it ended exactly where it needed to. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Let me know if you have read The Italian by TL Swan in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and your favorite parts. Let me know if you've read any other TL Swan's books. I love her. I love to talk about her books and her characters. I'm also very excited to say that I've got a great event coming up with another author friend of mine. I have done videos on both of her books. Dawn Edwards, she's an amazing author. I enjoy her writing so much. So we are co-hosting a 12 Days of Christmas event. So make sure you follow my social media for the information about that. It's Kat Reads Romance on Instagram and on Facebook. I would love to have you join us. We are going to have author takeovers, giveaways, fun holiday stuff to get us all in the spirit. I'm also really excited to talk about February, which will be my channel's 1-year anniversary. I started my channel doing a video about Mr. Spencer by TL Swan, and it's grown throughout the year. I thank everybody so much for tuning in. So in order to give back, I am going to do a bunch of fun stuff in February. I'm going to do some giveaways. I've got some other things planned. It's going to be exciting. So make sure you're following my social media because that will give you all the ins and outs about the month of February as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you soon. Bye.